Welcome everyone to the next video in Lambda tutorial series with Java. In this video, I will cover Lambda invocation on S3 put object. We will take a simple example. We'll upload a CSV file to S3 and that will generate an event which will trigger our Lambda function. Agenda of this video is, first I'll discuss various use cases for this particular scenario. Then I will cover general settings in Lambda so that you don't waste time on debugging the issues. Then how can you enable Lambda invocation on S3 put? So basically there are two ways. One is from the S3 console and second is from Lambda console. I'll show you both in the demo. And the last one is Java code to read the S3 event. So we'll do the live coding in this video and you'll get to know how to process the CSV file in Java. Coming to the use cases, I feel that you should be very comfortable with Lambda invocations on events in general, be it S3 or SQS or SNS, because this is very important part of implementing event-driven architectures on AWS. The first example which we are looking on the screen is an application which is storing CSV data in DynamoDB. So you can see this reference architecture. Lambda will be invoked on put object and you can perform some cleansing and filtering of the data. And once that is done, you can store the records in DB. Second example is video transcoding, generally used to support multiple devices for streaming platforms like YouTube and Netflix. Same process here also, you upload one video to S3 based on put object event, Lambda would be triggered. Then we have in-house AWS transcoding service that can convert files to different resolutions. You can see here we are capturing 3 resolutions here, and then again all 3 are saved into different buckets in S3. So this is a real life example that you might encounter if you're going for system design interviews also. Then the last one is ETL flow, where we are uploading our data and then transforming it as per our needs in Lambda function itself, then saving the data in Parquet format. So believe me, in your real life projects, if you have huge data in CSV, you should better convert that to Parquet format. Now let's cover few settings in Lambda. So the first one is bucket should be in the same region where you are creating the Lambda function. You might say that S3 is a global service, but remember we do select a region when we create a bucket. Second thing is Lambda should have permission to read from S3. You should create a new role with basic Lambda execution role and S3 read-only access. The last one is more of a error handling scenario. Based on your use case, you can use DLQ or custom destinations. By default, Lambda tries for 2 times in async invocation. Let me show you. So this is Lambda console. You have to go to configuration here. In asynchronous invocation, you can see the maximum age of event, then retry attempts. Currently, we have 2 retry attempts. So if your Lambda fails, then it will try for 2 times. And after that you can configure dead letter queue here. So if I go and edit this, I do have an option to select SNS or SQS, and if I select that, I need to choose the topic. This is the best practice that you should be following in your production grade code, because this will help you to get to know if your Lambda is failing and you can take necessary actions on that. This is an example request payload of S3 put event. You can see we get an array of records here. For one object, we get one entry. Here we have S3 object details. You can see here we have the bucket name and then ARN of the bucket. We don't get the actual object, rather we get details about bucket and the object. So you can see here we have the object key. We will use bucket name and object key to fetch the actual object using S3 SDK. So the step-by-step process would be like this. So you derive bucket name and object key from event object, as I explained in the previous slide. Then you create S3 client. For creating S3 client, you don't need AWS access key and secret key in Lambda. And you can use profile credentials provider to get the client. So once you have the client, you can pass bucket name and object key in getObject method that will return you a stream of object which you can process. So I will give you demo for all these 4 steps when we code our Lambda in Java. Let's start our demo. So first step is to create S3 bucket. I'll click create bucket here. I'll type here, hopefully we'll get this bucket name, and I'll choose region as London, EU West 2. Yeah, we got the bucket here. Now the next step is to create IAM role for Lambda. I'll go to roles. I'll create a new role. I will choose Lambda basic. Execution role. Yeah, this one. And I would choose S3 read only. I will choose S3 read only access because our Lambda would be reading the object from S3. Click next. We'll name it as yeah. I'll click on create role. Yeah, so our role is created. Now I can go to Lambda console and create a new function. I'll name it as Lambda S3 event. I'll choose runtime as Java 11. And then in default execution role, I'll choose an existing role which I created, Lambda S3 event. I'll click create function here. Now to invoke Lambda on S3 put event, I have 2 options. I can add the trigger here in Lambda console, or I can go to my S3 bucket and I can go to properties, and in properties I have something called event notifications. You can click create event notification here. Both places are fine, so even if I make changes here in S3 console, I should be able to see the event here as a trigger here. So let me show you that. So let's say I'll choose this. I'll click on add trigger and I can choose my service, which is S3. Then you have an option to choose bucket. I created this one. Then event type, you can choose a particular event for which you want to invoke Lambda. I will choose put here. So there can be the case that inside this bucket you have multiple folders and then subfolders, and you want to invoke Lambda only for a particular folder files. Then you can add that folder name here. But for now I don't have any folder inside that. I will not choose any prefix here. So that means all the objects that I create, even if I create a new folder inside the bucket, so for every object that I upload, Lambda would be invoked. A suffix is also very important to know. So let's say if you want to invoke Lambda only for JPEG or .csv file, then you can add that. So Lambda would be invoked only for that particular file format. So I will not add anything here. I'll just keep it as it is and click this checkbox. I'll click add here. Now you can see that from the source side we have S3. If you want to see the details, you can go here and you can check that event type is object created by put, and then the bucket name. You can see the notification name here. I'll just copy it for your reference. Now I'll go to S3. I'll show you that this event is already replicated here. I'll go to properties here. Yeah, in event notification we do see one entry because we already created that from Lambda console. So you have 2 options. You can choose either from Lambda or you can do from S3 also. Let me show you that once. You can click create event notification. You can give event name, then again the same thing. You can choose prefix here, then suffix here, then what event type. I chose only put here, so you can choose put. Then what should be the destination for this put? So in our case we wanted to choose Lambda. We are invoking Lambda function. You can choose SNS topic also, or SQSQ. For Lambda function, you can choose from the list. So we have Lambda S3 event. So I'll not be saving the changes because I've already added an event. Now our Lambda is also created with S3 as a source. Now the next thing is to actually write the code which processes the S3 event. I'll go to my IntelliJ. I'll be using the same workspace which I did in my previous video. In video 3, I'll create a new Java class. I'll implement request handler here. Yeah, so this will ask me to override handle method. Yeah, handle request. So in my case, I want S3 event as an input, and let's say I want to return back Boolean as an output. I will just change it. Okay, even if I delete this and next time if I override this, this should automatically resolve to correct types. Yeah, you can see here. Now we'll check if we are getting any record. Okay, so what we can do is I can write a if check here. I can call input dot get records dot empty. If it is empty, then I should return as false. Okay, and one more thing I can do here is I can instantiate lambda logger. So before returning false, I should print here now the next step is if we are getting the records, then we should process those records, right? I can write a for loop here. In this for loop, I should be iterating over S3 event notification record. Yeah, I will iterate over this. First, I'll get the bucket name from here. As I explained in the PPT, we do get S3 object, and inside that we get bucket information and object information. We need bucket name and object key to actually fetch the object from S3, right? So now what we'll do is we'll get the bucket name from S3. Record.get S3 dot get bucket dot get name. Now I'll get the object name, object key, sorry. Get object dot get key. So now this event doesn't give us the actual object. This only gives us the required information about the event. To actually fetch the object, we need to call get object method. First of all, for that we need a dependency here for S3 SDK. I'll go to Maven and download that. I'll go to POM and just paste it here. Just go to Maven and re-import. This should add our dependency here. Yeah, you can see here we got all the required dependencies here. Yeah, here it is. You can see here this is S3 SDK. Now we have object key and bucket name. So the next step should be first we create S3 client. Second is we should be invoking get object and then processing the input stream from S3. So these are our next steps. So for creating client, it's always the best practice to do it outside your handle request method, because that client could be reused in the next Lambda invocation. I'll create our client now. I'll be choosing with credentials and default credentials provider chain and build. So our client is created, first step is done. Now we'll invoke get object method, and this get object method takes bucket name and object key. That's why we wanted bucket name and object key, because we need these two to actually fetch the object. They should return me S3 object. Now from this S3 object we can get the object content, get object content, and this content is nothing but S3 object input stream. Yeah, now we got the input stream and we want to process this input stream. We would be uploading a CSV file, so I can just print the content of CSV, right? So for processing CSV file, you can use many methods. You can use open CSV or Apache CSV, but I would not suggest using these third-party libraries unless it's necessary, because when you're using third-party libraries, you are actually adding extra dependencies, and this can lead to Lambda cold start. I can just use buffered reader here. We are getting input stream here, and so this is throwing exception. I can catch that. So I can just use logger here and log the error message, and I can return false in this case. So now I have a buffered reader object. I can just call lines, and if I have my header row, then I can skip the first row. Then I'll call for each, and I can just print the content of CSV file. For every line I can just call logger.log. Here I can print the line, just put slash in here, backslash in here. Yeah, so I think I can change this to true. Yeah, so I think this is it. This is what we need from our Lambda. Now we can just package this and upload that to Lambda. I'll call ambient clean package. I'll just refresh this. Yeah, we have the target directory, and this, I'll open this in Explorer. Yeah, you can see here our jar file is close to 8 MB, right? I mean, it's a huge size. I can go to Lambda console, and in code I can just go and upload the jar file. So it's loaded. Now the next step is to upload CSV file to S3. For creating a CSV file, you can use Mocaro to generate the random CSV data. So what I can do is I can use these 4 folders, and I need, let's say, 50 rows. I can just download the data. Yeah, I'll save it here. I'll go to S3 and click upload. Yeah, its file is uploaded. Now our event should be triggered, and to confirm that, we can go to monitoring here, monitor, and click view logs in CloudWatch. If our Lambda is triggered, we should be getting a log file here. I think we forgot one thing, right? We should have changed the default handler, this runtime setting, right? Because our runtime setting is different. I'll just copy the package name here, and then my class name, and then method name is handle request, which is, I think, correct. Yeah, click save here. Yeah, we do have one entry and this says class not found. That means our Lambda is invoked, but it tried to look out for this class hello in the jar file, but it is giving us error class not found. Yeah, I'll go back and I'll just delete this and I'll upload the file again. Yeah, it's uploaded again. I'll just go to CloudWatch and just refresh. Yeah, invocation started. Let's just click on retry. Yeah, you can see here our Lambda has printed all the 50 rows because we generated 50 rows data. Now if you want to replicate that scenario which I explained during the theory part, if you go to configuration and click on asynchronous invocation, you'll see here retry attempts 2. So if you want to actually see this happening, this retries, we can try that now. What I can do is I can just go to my code here, and instead of calling this, I can just throw an exception here. I'll just comment this code, throw an runtime exception. I'm throwing the exception. I'll follow the same process. I'll just package this and upload to my console. I'll go to code and upload the jar file. Yeah, it's successfully uploaded. What I can do is I can just go to CloudWatch and clear the logs because I want to only see the failure logs. Now to invoke Lambda, I'll upload the file again. Should trigger our Lambda. I'll just refresh. Cold start is happening. Yeah, we have the logs. You can see here, this is printing the runtime exception, right? Something wrong happened. So there's a typo here. It should be in our code. Something wrong here. So this is the first failure, right? Now it should retry for a couple of times. So it will not try immediately, but it should try in next few minutes. So I'll just click on retry. So you can see first failure happened at 22:18, right? And second retry is at 22:19. So this is almost trying after 1 minute. So this is our second failure. Something wrong happened. Now it should try for the third time, third and the last one. Yeah, you can see the third retry happened at 22:21. So yeah, almost after 2 minutes. So first one is after 1 minute and second is after 2 minutes. So this is about Lambda retries. So this is all what I wanted to cover in this video. Thanks for watching this video, guys. You can subscribe to my channel to watch more such content on AWS. Thank you. Bye.